Hi guys, it's Tam. This video is about, or is part 2 or 3 now, of the combination of the Sun in Scorpio, Moon in Pisces with a Scorpio ascendant. I'm sorry, first of all, it took this long for me to do this video. I know I cut the previous one off a bit short because I had a phone call, and I have every intention to do the next video, but then I forget about it. I get distracted being this combination, as you guys might resonate with it. It's a little bit of the squirrel syndrome, where you know you're doing something or you're talking to someone and then you see a squirrel and you go, oh, squirrel, and you run off chasing the squirrel. And then you forget what you're doing previously. Yeah, but I'm really disorganized, and that's something I'm working on, and following through and committing to things and following through is something that I personally am working on. That's not specifically, I don't think, to do with Scorpio or Pisces combination. It's probably more of my other signs altogether. So just so you know, because I know someone's asked what my planetary natal astrological signs are, so I am a Sun in Scorpio with the Moon in Pisces with a Scorpio ascendant, of course. I have Mercury in Sagittarius. This is probably why I ramble, and this is why I go off topic sometimes and I don't stick to a plan, but I did try to put a plan up for this video to talk about specific things. So hopefully I can stick with it, because I'm terrible. Sagittarius does just keeps going and going. And yeah, a bit extreme with that. So I do have Mercury with Sagittarius. Venus I have in Libra in the 12th house, and I've got Virgo in the 11th house with Mars. That's a challenging aspect. What else do you need to know? I think those are the main ones. I do also, my midheaven is Leo. Yeah, that's all I'll say now. I won't go on the outer planets, etc. now. But yeah, so if you know a bit about astrology, this is my combination. Once again, I apologise for the delay in doing these videos. I have every intention to get them done, but I just get a little bit distracted. But I did want to thank you to everyone who have been following and who can resonate or have liked, commented, and subscribed to my videos. It wasn't I didn't really know what my goal was when I started doing these YouTube videos. It was more about expressing what I felt inside, and hopefully someone can confirm it to make me a little bit sane or make me feel a little bit more sane. That was a way of expression, and I have, you know, your comments mean a lot to me, because any feedback for me is good feedback. You know, it helps me learn and grow about how I come across and what I understand. I could be wrong for all I know, right? And I do appreciate everyone that has commented, and a special shout out to the two ladies, Danielle and Katie. Thank you so much for commenting and knowing that you guys are out there connecting with me, talking about something that you might understand or can resonate with. You know, I think a lot of us stand alone or walk alone in this world, thinking that no one is capable of understanding, and I think everyone is different. I don't think although we might have similar combinations, the other planets do play a big role in us as well, and there's a lot of things like cultures and experiences, specific experiences that we've gone through. I don't think any two people are alike or exactly the same, but knowing you guys that can understand, you know, the biggest turmoil in us, or in people, is our moon sign. I think everybody is trying to deal with that moon and wherever that moon is, and having Moon in Pisces is probably one of, personally, the most tiring, difficult things, difficult placements to deal with. Or maybe I'm just, you know, saying that because that's what we experience specifically. But being a bit self-absorbed right now. But yeah, no, thank you for commenting. I do appreciate it so much. It just lets me know that, you know, I'm on the right track, or someone can connect with it, that, you know, it's doing something out there. Just the fact that you guys are out there, it means a lot. And so I really do, I am grateful for all that comment and I appreciate it a lot. I did want to spend time on that. Now I did want to, before I go into, you know, specific details, I did want to ask for help. I would like, because I'm a pattern recognizer, as probably you all are as well, or anyone with this combination, or know of someone with this combination. We pattern recognize, right? And certain things kind of pop up in our head that kind of links to something else, and then starts forming a pattern, and then you start consciously becoming aware of a possible pattern coming up, and then you try to, like, you kind of plot along, try to see if you can confirm that with more information, or, you know, more experiences, another experience, or another way of understanding. So I just wanted to ask for those who have this combination, so the Sun Scorpio, Ascendant Scorpio with Moon Pisces, to please comment with your height. I kind of want to know how tall you are, whether you're about, for females specifically, I haven't looked at males, but just wanted to see if this is even a pattern. But 5'6", 5'7" so about 168 to 170 centimeters in height. Just wanted to know whether this is even a pattern or something I should discard. But it was just something that you know, I haven't been really looking at, but it was just something that popped into my mind like a couple minutes before I started this video, and I thought, maybe could it be? I just wanted to see whether that's possibly something. Now I did want to, I have a list of things I did want to talk about. I don't know how much I can get through, but I did want to talk about reassurance and the need for reassurance in a Scorpio. Now usually, I'll actually tell you what I would like to talk about. So reassurance, I did want to look at psychology and linking that up with Scorpios in terms of regression or suppression of emotions and how that comes out. Our dislike with being perceived as unintelligent, and the respect for, and the need for respect for our intelligence. Boundaries and personal space and people we meet, and flirting, that's a big one that comes up. I do want to touch on that. And maybe on the look, when the Scorpio Ascendant coming out with a look that can move a mountain, and what that represents. There's a lot I would like to go through, but I probably need to make another video after this, because otherwise it takes too long for me to upload them. Reassurance, I'll touch on this again because I did, you know, that's why I wanted to specifically thank everybody for, you know, commenting, liking and subscribing. Kind of really means a lot to me because of that reassurance or confirmation that you give. I think being a Scorpio, or the Sun in Scorpio, or having Scorpio in you, there is a deep sense of confusion, like I mentioned in the previous video. And this is not like, you know, this is a deeper kind of confusion when it comes to our identity and psychologically, as our psychological upbringing, that, you know, we do kind of seek for confirmation or reassurance that we're on the right track sometimes. And, you know, I don't think it's through insecurity in the, you know, the self-esteem way, but I believe it is a bit of insecurity in our identity kind of way, not in terms of confidence, because we're confident in how we present ourselves and who we are, more so like a check-in to see if we're on the right path. So when people comment and, you know, tell me their opinion, or even just in other things like you know, even at work, just to, you know, check in. If somebody says, you know, even good job, or, you know, tells you you're on the right track, you're doing well, or, you know, just even these small things, it means quite a lot to a Scorpio. Because I think the typical way that Scorpios are painted, being, you know, jealous, possessive, obsessive, I think that's completely wrong. I think if we narrow it down to the core needs of a Scorpio, the core beliefs is, I believe it's, we're probably maybe obsessed with honesty and truth. Because I think why is a question that comes out of a Scorpio's mouth more than we would probably like to hear, but we still need to ask, even though we might not like the answer that we hear. I think why is a huge question that we ask, and I think we don't, you know, if someone's going to talk to us, if we're going to even spend energy talking to anyone, or we're going to be asking why, unless they're going to present us a clear case of how they got from A to B, and it's logical in a very basic sense for us to understand, because we need to understand things, right? And, you know, about all the kind of description that they paint a Scorpio typically in, you know, like a general magazine or something, or whatever you can read about a Scorpio, I think what they paint us for, like, you've been crazy, or, you know, nuts, possessive, obsessive, I think it's all perceived in the wrong way. And please watch my video called Scorpio, my What You Misunderstand, on explanations of how that kind of plays out for a Scorpio and why it is that we do. Because I think people just look at actions, and just because you're not a Scorpio, you're judging us for those actions and painting us, you know, labeling us with a negative label, just because, you know, you think that, you know, there's 12 signs, you know, just because you're not a Scorpio, you won't get it. Like, we won't get you. Everybody's different, and we do different things. I don't think that we should be judging people for these and labeling them with these words. But, you know, in a twisted sense, I mentioned, yeah, we kind of don't like that we're misunderstood like that, and we've been perceived wrong. Yet we kind of like the fact that that people don't understand us. It's a really crap contradiction, isn't it? I think it's deep in a sense that we think we don't like to be misunderstood, yet that's the way that it's always been going. So we kind of go, yeah, gotta own this shit now, right? Because they're gonna pay us for that anyway. And I think it kind of gets twisted, and this is a lot of the times when I think about a Scorpio, you know, the contradiction in this, even this whole combination, where you mentioned last time, you know, love is all I wanted, but then I don't know what love is. And then I say I don't want it, but do I want it? I have no idea. There's a lot of, you know, polarity, confusion, where it's just like, what's going on? And the thing is, that's why we're always trying to, you know, figure this shit out in here, because that's what we're about. We're about transformation. We're about dying and being reborn, and this is why my regrowth is so bad. I'm sorry. I really need to get that shit done. But Scorpio Ascendant, we die, regeneration, to die and being reborn. So some days I wake up and look like complete crap, and I go to work like I just rolled out of bed, and that's exactly what happened, because I don't really care what I look like. But when I do, you know, make up my face or paint my face or whatever it is, I do it for me, obviously, otherwise I would be consistent, but that's not a Scorpio thing, right? So some days I do look like absolute, not like look like death, like a bus has ran over me a few times. But yeah, I go to work, and then the next day I might show up and I look completely made over and confuses everybody because there's no consistency or with the way that I am. Hey, it's not boring, right? You'll get a surprise. Unpredictable. But that's the whole Scorpio that can come out in this way in terms of physical form when it comes out, when it's where the ascendant is. So it really depends, because some days I wake up and I can't move and I'm too lazy to, you know, do this. And the next thing, the whole, like, once again, I know I took a long time to do this video, and I do apologise. I really did want to do a video like that night when I had to cut the previous video I cut short because I had a phone call, but I did want to continue it when I got home from work. However, I got distracted, like I mentioned, the squirrel syndrome. This happens a lot. Like, I'm very disorganised, and I don't think, like I said, I don't think it's this combination that may or may not be the reason. But look, astrology was not my main focus. It's probably a fun thing that I kind of did on the side. People come to me, and they'll probably come to you guys too if you have a Scorpio ascendant, for understanding. People come to us when they're ready to understand something. I think, you know, I probably help a lot of people with communicating relationship issues. I mean, like communication between males and females, and how one is in terms of psychology, and what's happening here in a logical way for them to understand. And I think the reason why I do this is, and astrology, etc., is just a way for people to, a different perspective or a different way for people to understand another person. When I first, I've always been into astrology, but when I first looked at it, it was far from what I was really passionate about. I think, you know, Scorpios here, and especially with Mercury and Sagittarius, I have a need to expand in the way that I understand this in people, right? So I probably obsessively researched and read books on psychology for several years, and I contemplated about 7 years on whether I should go, you know, formally study it, but I couldn't keep a job and pay rent and stuff and study full time too. It's just not, I'll probably sink in the world and have no money and die. But you know, and then it got to a point where I felt that psychology was, I didn't believe in the labels that came with it, like how they categorize, you know, illnesses or mental illnesses, and I do this because I don't believe in it. And that's my personal preference. I'm not saying it's real or fact or whatever it is, or that I'm right. It's just what I believe. And you know, so I didn't like the labels, but you know, there's a piece of paper when you go to like university or college. And because I'm in high school, I dropped out of high school, so it's even harder. It takes even longer to get into that profession or that field. And because I had such a keen liking to or interest in psychology, I just looked at downloading books, like university books, and read them, looked at case studies, and after psychology I looked at what was it, right down, sorry, yeah. I tried to organise myself, and I wrote down what I wanted to talk about. Tried. I don't know if I'll go off topic. I probably will. But I looked, after psychology, I probably looked at a lot. I mean, I spent probably about 3 years obsessively reading books on sociology, anthropology, relationship, doctors and cases and scenarios, even spirituality, understanding the masculine and feminine energy. I've looked at, you know, clinical psychology, general cognitive development psychology, like even autism, etc. Looked at serial killers, just to understand biological, abnormal psychology, personality psychology. A lot of, even looked at religion, tried to understand the basics of religion, cultures, so different life experiences and what comes out of that. Even looked at folklore, and then mythology, and then I kind of got to planets and went, I probably need to take a break, you know. With sociology and anthropology, I was reading up on these things because I needed to understand certain things in my life that I needed to answers for, and I kept trying to understand, and you know, I do this thing where you get into a understanding of perspectives, and there's just no end. Just keep going, and you kind of, I think this is what the Pisces, it kind of comes out, and it kind of like allows for a lot of behaviour, and I can see like a positive in a lot of things as well. Even though I understand a lot and I've read a lot of these books, doesn't mean that I can make sense of it all. Like I said, it is based on experience, and thank you, Katie, for bringing that one up. Because you know, this is the kind of information that I had back in me already, where when I, you know, read a brief description on how astrology is really done, like a proper natal chart, it kind of all the information I had on me was already in kind of like boxes of patterns that I currently saw in psychology, and astrology kind of just labelled these boxes, you know, like it just kind of helped me group these people up or jiggle them around and make it work. So it kind of made, it was kind of like a little bit easy for me to see these little patterns, right? Because after, you know, after religion, I looked at probably science and how the brain works and what chemicals are released and why the brain does what it does, and studies on that with people and the outcomes, etc. Anthropology was so interesting. Even people that I meet, those experiences and what they went through. Evolution, and then I probably got to, after, you know, documentaries, like a lot of documentaries on, like, you know, the world and people and behaviours and understanding all that. It kind of went into, you know, trying to understand the whole Big Bang Theory, the evolution, and where the big questions in life, like why are we here, where did we come from, what are we here to do, and is there a God? Just there to get all this information so I can make sense of my concept of what this world is about. And then when I think I got onto, I knew eventually it would happen, but I eventually got onto quantum mechanics. Now, anyone that knows anything about quantum theories or theory of relativity, even with Einstein's theory, that was something else. I looked at biographies of the great people in the world to see if I could find their sadness, so I could see that there's balance, because I needed to make sure that there's one and the other. It kind of made me feel better. But I stayed on, the two big ones I probably look at was Einstein and Stephen Hawking. I find him brilliant. But I needed to see the balance in things, and that's where I kind of stemmed out and went into theory of relativity, because it kind of helped me have my own, or form that concept of how I understand astrology. And that only took me so far though, because when I was looking at quantum mechanics, now I don't have any friends that look into or have the same interests with this, and that's a bit difficult, because when a Scorpio goes into information and tries to understand things logically, and this is a bit of the irony here, because you know, I think Scorpios are forever trying to look for a balance with head and heart, like logic and emotions, and we try to, and this is wrong for me to do, knowing that, you know, they don't understand each other. There's no logic in emotions, yet I'm looking for information to understand logically emotions, and I know that I'm getting further and further from what it really is. I'm just getting a whole lot of information that probably takes me away, but I just can't stop doing it because I think, because I need to understand, and then I look into researching things because that's logic, and so I don't need to feel about it, because when I feel I don't quite understand, but because the understanding part is the Scorpio part, right? But I know I just need to completely feel, and that's the Pisces part. But this world is about Scorpio. Like, this Scorpio is trying to do the world. Pisces doesn't feel like it fits in, you know. And this is the challenge of us, this combination in this world. And yeah, like I know this, and I still can't stop though, because it's obsessive. And I'm hoping, you know, maybe I find a different perspective to understand this, you know. And Yeah, it might sound like it's logical, but really it's kind of like astrology. Because when I got up to quantum mechanics, it kind of like, I knew when he needed to stop, and people were telling me to slow down because like my friends were saying, you're going too fast, you're getting really obsessive, and I'll ramble on about it because I get excited about what I've learned and how I understand things, and I start going off and talking about it. It makes no sense for people if they've never looked into it. It just makes me feel like a nutcase. And I think I got to a point where I'll be like, because I need this confirmation that I'm on the right track, right? And if people, no one can understand and they kind of perceive it negatively, I just kind of started questioning myself, going, maybe I can understand that they probably see me as a nutcase. Maybe I'm wrong, and the further I get into this, maybe I'm gonna go like cuckoo. I need to stop, and I knew I needed to make a break, but I was still so curious. And this is probably when I went, let's take a break and let's go have a look at this hand psychology book. But because it's hand psychology, sounds a little bit more logical than palmistry, right? So I gave that a go, and then it kind of worked out when I read people, and then I read a palmistry book, and then it didn't make any sense anymore. It didn't match up, and then I went out the window. So I started reading palms based on my understanding. I started just looking and collating data and seeing if I can form that pattern. Now, I don't read the future. It's not something I can confirm that is in fact going to happen. So for me to actually comfortably be able to tell someone that X, Y, Z is going to happen, I haven't watched someone die and then stare at their palm to confirm when they're going to die. And in fact, that line means then, or X amount of time. I can't do that. I can't. I believe that we have choices till the day we die. I believe that this world, regardless of astrology and understanding however much we understand ourselves and how much, in whatever way or concept or, structure, system, perspective that you want to be able to try to understand yourselves, I think that we are all individual people. I think no two people are the same. And it's the very fact that, it's our differences that makes us connected to the next person. It's our differences is what we have in common with the next person, not what society kind of paints it for. Because I think that we understand we're all different, but yet on the flip side, we all go, I want to be like everybody else, and then you break it down and try to define things to copy it and mimic it, but you're not doing you, and then you go along going, hey, the only thing you get there is, hey, shit, I'm weird, so let's put on a mask and another mask and a mask and a mask, and then you don't know who you are anymore. And in fact, it's actually disconnecting us from the next person as opposed to connecting us. So I think people need to remember that it's our differences that make us beautifully connected and relatable, because it's our differences that we have in common. That's the only thing we have in common. And and I started reading astrology. I went into astrology after palmistry took me so far, and I was like, oh hey, if I can make some logic out of palmistry, let's see how astrology goes. Because I found astrology, I was like one of those people that's judged it for being illogical and silly. How can like another Scorpio be like all the other Scorpios? But then, I was young and naive, and I didn't think, I didn't learn or really resonate with the fact that, can't really judge it until I actually try to understand it. And I kind of went into astrology a bit, and it was fun. Like I was a bit excited again at the beginning, but because it helped me, make sense of what all this information about people in my head. It kind of another way to understand another way, and every time I get another perspective of current information I have, it makes me feel, grounded. Like I kind of get it a little bit more. I might not wholeheartedly connect with it yet, because it's just data at first, but and then until it gets deeper and deeper, it's just like, hey, yeah, and then I can completely confident that I can understand it. Because when you look at people at variables, how can you really compare one with the other? You can't. And this is, I know it will never be really confirmed, and different perspectives like psychology and anthropology, or even looking at cultures and astrology, numerology, whatever it is, it's just different perspectives to understand the same thing. And every time I go in a different perspective of waiting to understand people, it kind of helps me feel a bit more connected with people in a sense, in a sense for who I am, because sometimes I feel really detached from people, right? And so I looked into astrology, and astrology only took me so far because I don't really understand astronomy. I'm not very confident with my understanding of how many days it takes for a certain planet to rotate and that kind of those kind of patterns. But I understand it sort of enough to whatever point it was in my life that I needed to understand, because everything has to relate back on my experiences in life and what I need to understand and what I go through, right? So, and then after that, I think I went into numerology, because numerology and numbers are more logical, and it was just a game of taking two sets of patterns and putting it over to make it work and understand two systems of patterns, right? And numbers are a little bit more logical for us to be able to understand, because I understand the cycle of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's easy. But that's how I got into numerology, and that's another perspective of what I believe in. I think that's powerful, numerology. That helps me understand future patterns a bit better, because numbers, there's cycles in numbers that are easy for me to understand when we're looking at the future. Then I kind of went back onto psychology. I kind of felt, like with personality assessments, like the DISC format or MBTI, personality type indicator assessment, any type of formal personality assessment like MBTI, it was like that was another way, and it's more of patterns, right? And psychology is a lot more acceptable in society than astrology. Just naturally people accept it more. And I was trying to, because I started a spreadsheet to help me understand patterns. Really it was, I started a spreadsheet in search for another moon in Pisces so I can relate to someone, so I didn't feel insane. But I kind of wanted to bring psychology, so I connected astrology to numerology and numbers, and it still wasn't enough, and I wanted to connect it back to personality, like a personality assessment, so people can accept it a little bit more. But trying to get people to spend that time to do personality assessments and getting that information is so difficult. It was just, I know it's more time consuming, and it's a bit more daunting for people to do the personality assessment as opposed to an astrology thing, because I think they kind of palm or wave astrology off as illogical fun. But that's my goal, essentially, to be able to take two polarities and be able to connect it and make it understood for people and try to explain it for people to understand. It's like taking two worlds, right? Because I'm trying to make something that seems so illogical, which is actually logical, but seen as illogical and painful and labelled for as that, and trying to bring it logically back to something that's more acceptable in society. I kind of originally, I did a lot of astrology readings at the beginning. I had this thought that because I'm not a qualified doctor, when it comes to psychology and what I understood about psychology and people, it only took me so far because I didn't have that degree, or that I'm a psychiatrist or doctor, PhD, doctor, whatever. Even the fact that I didn't go to school, I dropped out of high school. That people wouldn't quite listen to what I had to say, even though it might make perfect sense or logic, and they get it. They kind of, I know they're probably whether it's subconsciously or knowingly or whatever it is, consciously, they kind of brush it off as no, it's just, she doesn't get it. How would she? She's not a doctor, And then because I personally started reading astrology for people, because for me to tell someone this is who you are and everything that you're meant to be, because that's what I wholeheartedly believe, because I don't think two people are the same, right? It was hard for me to get people to even start contemplating that fact as being a possibility, because who am I to say, they might understand completely, but I think they can easily just as much brush off anything that I say, because I don't have that label, that qualification behind me, backing me up. But when I started doing astrology, if I just turned to them and went, hey, you're the way you are and you should own it, you're beautiful as you are, you shouldn't try to be someone that you're not, why would they listen to me? But if I said, hey, the planets, when you're born, this is who you're meant to be, you know, even though I believe logically in how the patterns of astrology work, but just that fact alone, that if I said, hey, the planets were this way and this is what it says about you and this is who you are, is who you're meant to be, people accepted that a lot more. And I kind of appreciated astrology, you know, completely just for that fact that, you know, it helps people not feel so alone or feel so disconnected. It gives you another perspective of understanding yourself as well as people around you, and I think that allows us to accept people more, and we're heading in the right direction if it does that, you know. Like, I think, and over time now, I think people are accepting astrology a bit more and more and more, and I think that's a beautiful thing. But I originally started to help people, you know, own their identity and personality and individuality, because that's the beautiful thing in the world. And I continued on that, even though my passion is to understand everything else, the bigger questions in the world. And that's still my main hobby, like outside of my normal 9-to-5 job. That's what I still look at. I think astrology, numerology, and reading palms, and you know, name analysis, etc. I have a logical way of understanding that fits in my picture of how I understand the world, or my concept of why we're here. But it's more of the smaller things that I focus on. So that's why when it comes to these videos, sometimes I do get really distracted with my main focus. But wherever anyone can connect with this, I appreciate it so much, because sometimes it's really hard making these videos. I've got Mars in Virgo, and it's really tainted where it is and what I'm going through and the experiences I have. It's still a learning process for me on understanding who I am and being who I want to be, but I'm just trying to project what I believe is the beginning of understanding ourselves on a deeper level as a collective. But you know, I do these videos late at night because I get a burst of energy and I gotta do them, then I probably trail off and my voice is getting like softer and softer, and I had a plan of, you know, what I needed to talk about, but I went totally off topic again. But I'll continue in the next one, and I promise I will do that video now. Thanks, guys. And thank you again for all those who commented and subscribed. Like, I so appreciate every single one of you. And thank you for anyone that spends any time watching any of my videos. Thank you so much. And for those who have Scorpio Sun, Moon in Pisces and Scorpio Ascendant, keep fighting. Thank you for watching my video. Please, I'm gonna do another one now, more specific to what we do. It's this combination. I kind of talked about me, I got self-absorbed. Okay, thank you.